Hi-ho and bully, my fellow squids. I just came back from the Janus Owners Convention, and nerds rejoice! No longer must you take shelter in the musty basements of video rental stores around the world. Your beloved Papa Yam is here to lift you up and bolster your self-esteem with today's video. How will I do such a task, you may ask? By discussing 7 bikes that are lame but undeniably fun to ride. Because, as many of you tend to remind me in the comments, being cool is lame and being lame is cool. And while there's no sense in trying to make sense of that semantic paradox, we will instead just keep it about the bikes, baby. That's what this is all about, right? That's what we're doing here on this channel, I guess. So without further ado, the best lame bikes, let's get started. All right, first off, let's begin with the Royal Enfield INT 650. Look, the INT 650 might not be the lamest bike on the list today. It's definitely not even the lamest bike on Royal Enfield's lineup. Looking at you, Classic 350. But it certainly has a lot going for it, and unfairly goes unrecognized. Now, to the untrained eye, meaning the singularly focused sport bike chads who just cannot stop pounding off to the mental images of GSX R1000s and R1s that they keep stored away in the spank bank, the INT 650 looks like a lame attempt to exploit nostalgic feelings of old guys who always end up talking about how Norton was the most dominant brand back in their day. I remember Nortons. I remember they were good. They were a good motor and it's fast too. The Bruff Superior SS1000 was known as they went 1,000 kilometers an hour. It's got a simple classic silhouette paired with an air-cooled parallel twin engine that only puts down 47 ponies. Now look, let's just say it's certainly not going to impress the guy in the Dainese race suit on the R7 who's always loitering with his buddies at the Shell gas station at midnight. But objectively, the INT 650 has a lot of charm. I was actually won over by it. I used to be a Royal Enfield hater, but it's actually a pretty sweet bike. It can be a lot of fun with the right attitude, especially if you nearly high-sided on track as I did. The numbers on the spec sheet aren't going to blow your mind. It doesn't have a 9.5-inch absolute main dingo TFT dash with 27 different ride modes. In fact, it doesn't have a TFT dash or any ride modes at all. It has gauges. You ever heard of those? Yeah, Mr. Born in 2005, which should be an illegal birth date. Do you know what an analog gauge is? Can you read the hands of a clock? Is your best friend an AI chatbot? Blink twice if you're alive in there. Don't pet your pet clanker, buddy. I hate you. Frickin' wirebacks. The 648cc parallel makes 38 foot-pounds of torque in addition to the 47 ponies, which isn't gonna provoke you to post, "What if I didn't come home tonight? What if I just rode? What? Time to hear what the limiter sounds like in 6th gear. She left me." And you post that on your Instagram story. But look, it's certainly plenty to scoot around town with, and you can cruise on the highway, and the engine's nice and grunty. It's got that 270 crank. It's got some character. It's got some nice sauce on that pasta, you know what I mean? Nice upright stance with wide handlebars. It's slow enough you can actually just abuse the throttle without fearing for your life. And that's the key to remember. Fast doesn't always equate to fun. Even your girlfriend's gonna tell you that. The jackhammer is not the move, man. You might have not come to that conclusion yet, but sooner or later a nice lady will clue you into the information about, intimate relationships, and you're gonna be all the better for it. The INT 650 is fun, it's charming, and results in a riding experience that disarms you. Riding this bike, you can let your guard down, let your hair down a little bit, realize it's okay to do something for you, even if your sport bike boyfriends don't understand just yet. All right, how about I stop pretending like I'm Snoopy's pilot or something like that? Okay, Kawasaki shot themselves in the foot when they coined the moniker Versys. Now, anybody who hears that name is just gonna think of high-vis vests, modular helmets, and jean shorts. But of the family of Versys, the Versys 1100 is actually pretty sweet. Unlike riding a 200 horsepower leader bike where a twist of the throttle can grant you a one-way ticket to the pearly gates, the Versys 1100 will take you to some pearly white New Balance sneakers. Sure, mock this bike all you want for being a dad bike, but haven't you ever heard of dad strength? There is only one type of strength that can rival dad strength, and I can't really say it on YouTube lest the hammer of censorship come crashing down on my skull, and I do not need clips of me saying the thing I want to say, but you can probably guess what I'm saying. This bike is essentially a lame version of BMW's S1000 XR. I wish I could say it was much cheaper, but It actually isn't even the case. The Versys 1100 is just a retired superbike that knocked up its assistant and now has to pay alimony for the next 18 years. That's certainly where the nearly $20,000 asking price is going towards. Regardless, the Versys has the same idea as the S1000 XR. You take a sport bike engine, you detune it for usable torque, you slap it into an upright, comfortable chassis with long travel suspension, wind protection, and hard luggage, baby. What, you like soft luggage? Ew. Now you got a bike that can do everything. Commute, tour down the road, hunt down inexperienced 600 riders on your local twisty roads. The Versys can do everything. It looks like the bike your accountant would take to his annual fishing trip, but when you open it up, you've got an inline 4 making 133 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torque. That's all while you sit in a cockpit more comfortable than the cuck chair in the hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton, baby. The Honda Goldwing, the G-Wang. It's been called everything under the sun. The couch on two wheels, the minivan for motorcyclists, retirement scooter, butterball, pig boy, overweight, friendless loser with bad breath. You get the idea. It has a reverse gear, an airbag, cup holders, and much, much more. Your mom could pack you some bagel bites and Mountain Dew Code Red, and you could practically play a bout of Dungeons and Dragons while riding this damn thing. But you wouldn't, because the Goldwing, it's not for nerds. It's for proud, wise older men who have seen and done it all, and they've gathered an exquisite and sensible taste as a result. When you throw a leg over the wing, everything changes, because it's not just a lame touring machine. It's the lame touring machine. One that also happens to have an 1833cc 6-cylinder engine making 130 foot-pounds of torque. It's like riding a fridge powered by a jet engine. The motor is unbelievably smooth with a ridiculously low center of gravity. You twist the throttle and the Goldwing just majestically glides through the air. Houston, we have a problem. An unknown touring motorcycle has just entered restricted airspace. We're gonna have to call in the drones. The torque is immediate. The ride is plush, and through some sort of Honda wizardry, the Goldwing actually handles like a real motorcycle. Yeah, the Goldwing makes you think of old dudes in their 60s, but look, don't be a hater just because they've survived 3 divorces and still have disposable income. You young bucks can't really comprehend what that actually means. These guys have put 5 kids through college, they have 3 divorces, they still got money for a wing. Yeah. One can only dream to aspire to that level of exceptionalism. If you were to look up outdated motorcycle in the dictionary, you're probably going to see a photo of a Honda XR650L. And if you find yourself in possession of a physical dictionary, I hope you packed an excess supply of gravimetric crystals, because it's going to require a lot of energy to get your time machine back to 2025. This bike came out before the Clinton administration, but since it has always abstained from inappropriate conduct with White House staff members, its production window has lasted much longer than that aforementioned presidency. On paper, this bike is a total dinosaur. It makes 40 horsepower, weighs nearly 350 pounds, and looks more like a vintage farm implement than a modern motorcycle. It's easy to dismiss this bike as just being one of the most ancient dual sports you can still buy, but old does not always mean bad. The XR650L is a bulletproof motorcycle, even beyond normal Honda standards. I think you could drop it off a cliff, pick it up, and it would probably start on the first crank. It's simple, rugged, and it just works. And this bike can't even conceive of what a subscription fee to access telematics would even look like. This thing is so stupid, I can't even make the joke I want to make. It's related to the thing I said earlier, but don't worry about it. And the fun factor is just off the charts. This bike's going to go anywhere. It's going to do anything a $30,000 BMW GS can do. And yeah, it's going to do it a little slower with way less flash, but it's still going to do it. Being able to use a dual sport as it was intended without any fear of failure or damage is a liberating experience. One that often eludes newer, faster, and better performing bikes from KTM, BMW, Husqvarna, hell, even like my Aprilia. Ask anybody who's ever done a wicked highway pull on a motorcycle and they'll tell you scooters are lame. That's the stereotype, right? They're not real motorcycles. Their ergonomics are far from sporty, looking like you're practically sitting on a kitchen chair. The most athletic feat that you can have in that position is going for the gold in a hot dog eating contest. I mean, come on. Scooters have itty-bitty wheels, plasticky bodies, and sometimes even underseat storage to bring home a week's worth of lean cuisine from the grocery store. But man, I gotta be honest with you guys. Scooters are some of the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Take the Yamaha Zuma or the Suzuki Bergman. They're twist and go, easy to ride, and low stakes. A half helmet, a t-shirt, your knees in the breeze. Brother, it doesn't get much more freeing than that. I love scooters. On a scooter, you're not worried about high-siding yourself into orbit. You're not worrying about clutch or shifting gears. You're just breezing around town like a European playboy in Milan. There's something liberating about hopping on a scooter, twisting the throttle, zipping through traffic with zero effort, getting through everybody, parking them anywhere. They're amazing. And if you don't believe me, Garrett Gerloff loves scooters too. I mean, come on. Need I say more? They're light, maneuverable, and surprisingly practical. Plus, you can ride them flat out all the time, and you're never really in danger or going too fast. You ever seen those old scooter dudes in Florida beach communities? They look like they're living in the midst of a Jimmy Buffett music video. Not a single care in the world, just on their way to eat cheeseburgers in paradise. Just totally unbothered. You know Harley-Davidson is actually good when a majority of the Harley guys hate it. The V-Rod, the XR1200, the Pan America, all blasphemous machines that defy the Midwestern allegiance. And then there's the Street Rod 750. A bike that's panned by Harley lifers as well as nearly everyone else. It's not a real Harley, it's not a real sport bike, it just exists in this kind of weird nebulous zone of uncertainty. It's too heavy to be a sport bike, it's too sporty to be a cruiser. It makes 70 horsepower from its liquid-cooled Revolution X engine, had mid-controls, and this bike probably leans more than most Harleys have ever dreamed of. To the hardcore Harley crowd, it's lame because it doesn't fit their image. The average Harley pirate would never be caught dead rocking some assless chaps on this thing. To the sport bike crowd, it's lame because it's still heavy and not very powerful. But to the rider who actually swings a leg over it, it's pretty decent. It's really not that bad. The Street Rod 750s handles pretty well and makes good power for everyday riding. It has a unique vibe. It feels like Harley was trying something new, dipping their toes into a fountain of youth in an attempt to attract a modern, younger audience without fully abandoning their roots. Maybe they just didn't go far enough. But it's a quirky, misunderstood machine that's pretty fun to ride. Finally, we are nearing the end of today's lesson. The last bike on the list is the humble Kawasaki Ninja 250. This bike likely launched the careers of millions of motorcycle riders, but it still doesn't get the respect it deserves. The Ninja 250 makes 28 horsepower. Now, compared to the current generation of beginner sport bikes, it's downright diminutive. It looks ridiculous. It looks like a sport bike that shrank in the washing machine or something like that. And when you park it next to a Ninja 500 or, God forbid, an RS 457, it just looks sad. People look down on it as a beginner bike that's only good for local broke boys who can't afford a real bike yet. But the Ninja 250 is actually a lot of fun to ride. It's as fun as a mini bike while still being able to keep up with traffic. You can pin the damn thing wide open, bang through every single gear, and barely be speeding on your local highway. Bikes like this are light, forgiving, and they teach you how to be a better rider, and honestly, it's held up to the test of time. The Ninja 250 is still a good beginner bike in 2025. Maybe it's a little old, but it's still pretty good. And because it's so cheap, you don't care if you drop it or abuse it, you just ride it hard the whole time, and you smile the whole way. They always say it's better to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow, and the Kawasaki Ninja 250 is a very slow bike, and thus, very fun. At the end of the day, the bikes everyone calls lame might just be the ones that remind you that riding is supposed to be fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. We're all just adults obsessed with expensive toys. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. As always, I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you all on the next one. Fact: Brazil boasts the most biodiversity of any country on the planet, with more than 50,000 species of plants and trees. E pra galera lá no Brasil, acho que não falo português? Falo sim. Eu tenho sotaque, mas tô falando aqui português. Tchau, tchau.